think that, my natural reaction was when things got uncomfortable, I would just close the door and walk away and be like, oh, this is not where I'm meant to be. But now I realize that it's like, if I'm uncomfortable, I got to own it. I got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And just the further outside that comfort I get, the more opportunities pop up. Are they all opportunities I want to take advantage of? No, but it gives me options of opportunities.
Welcome back to the Bombshell Business Podcast. I'm your host, Amber Hurdle, and we are in the midst of the vacation rental, short-term rental industry takeover week of the Bombshell Business Podcast, where I am interviewing my friends and a couple new friends, just about their journeys, about some experiences that I might be aware of that they've had. And none of it's going to be like, how do you want to start and grow your vacation rental business? A lot of them have podcasts. Our guest today has a podcast. So you can listen to those if you want that kind of information. But since our listeners are throughout all different industries, we're really trying to tap into them to pull out the lessons that are applicable to anyone, whether you're a business owner, whether you're in hospitality or any other industry or a leader in an organization. We want this to be special for you. And this industry's amazingly giving, amazingly full of grace, just support and joy and happiness. And it's just like one big happy squad. And I just think it's going to be such a blessing for anybody who listens to all these episodes. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about our guest today before I read her official bio. And I won't get into too much of it because I'm sure we get in the conversation, but I met our guest and her partner in crime of the Alex and Annie podcast, which is for vacation rentals, because I was on their show. I was their first guest, and we just clicked. And we've gotten to hang out. We have a little tradition of pre-conference dinner, which we won't be able to do this time, but they're very special women. And I think it's been so fun to have a front row seat at watching their becoming and watching them believing in themselves and doing things scared. So again, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I want to unpack it, but let me tell you about our guest. So Annie is the Vice President, Business Development of Lexicon Travel. She has 30 years of experience in hospitality and tourism, holding positions from front desk, sales and marketing, owner relations, and has worked for a leading OTA, Expedia. I think we all know that. At Expedia, she oversaw one of the largest vacation rental markets, Florida Panhandle, leading to a position as Senior Key Account Manager, specializing in vacation and non-traditional lodging accounts, and most recently on the channel management side with Lexicon Travel, helping managers optimize and grow reach and revenues. She currently serves as the Vice President of Business Development for Lexicon Travel, an industry-leading channel manager. This diverse background makes Annie one of the industry's most empathetic and thoughtful. In her bio, it says new leaders. Girlfriend's been a leader for a while. She is just kind of elevated, a little more visible these days. She is currently a member of the STR Professionals Thought Leaders on Clubhouse, hosting monthly chat rooms, and in 2021 was added as a strategic advisor for Up Travel OTA Wimstay. Did I read that right? Up Travel OTA Wimstay. Anyways, welcome to the show, Annie Holcombe. It's an impressive bio in and of itself, even if I botched it at the end. I'm so happy to have you on the show this time instead of me being on yours.
I am so happy to be here. And it's just such an honor. Just being able to be in your orbit has been just tremendous. And not only for me personally, but professionally. And you've taught me a lot. So I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's iron sharpens iron. And at first, we're all very busy women, and it's conference season, and it's just travel season. It's busy season. It's all the seasons. And so you and me and Alex were having a hard time, finding a spot where we can all be. And I was like, let's just do it. Oh, what if we separate them? So I'm kind of excited. Because I don't know. I mean, I know y'all do shows separately, but I don't guess, it's not really the common thing. So I'm happy to dive into your side of things exclusively and then do the same with Alex. So
I appreciate that. Yeah. We don't typically don't typically separate. You don't see us in the wild separated. So
it's like, what are you, where's your other person?
right. Like where's your arm? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So let's go back all the way, because you have been in the industry for 30 years and you are such an amazing champion of hospitality in general. You have all kinds of experience. And then you and Alex, literally like a year ago, decided that you were going to partner up and do this podcast, and you were scared.
Petrified. Absolutely petrified.
What was it that you two like kind of like you're not the odd couple, but just
No.
you do different, like she's, well, I mean, you're both in sales, so maybe it's a little more, it makes more sense, but like you just like picked each other and you're like, hey, let's go take over the world. Like, what made you do
Yeah.
that?
Alex and I've known each other for, gosh, over 5 years now. We met at a conference. And what was really funny is when we met, I'm always very intimidated by like very strong personalities and strong, powerful seeming people. And I remember I sat next to her because I thought, like, I want to meet her because she's gorgeous and like everybody's eyes are on her and she's very well spoken and she carries herself like this, just amazingly I can't even put into words. Like she just walks in a room and you're just drawn to her. And I wanted to meet her, and she didn't know anybody but me, or at least knew of me. We sat next to each other. We started talking and we realized we just had a lot in common. Our lifestyles were a little different, but we had a lot in common. We stayed friends. We collaborated with stuff over the years. And then in COVID, obviously everybody got stuck sitting at home, and it became the world of outreach through Zoom and all these clubhouses and meetings and things. And I got pushed by our dear friend Simon Lehman to do Clubhouse. And that was really outside my comfort zone because that was hosting a chat room. But the nice thing about it was it wasn't on video. So I felt like I could really be myself. So I worked at that for a while. And then I started needing to bring people from outside. I brought Alex in, and her and I did one together. And we just had a really good banter back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And our personalities just click and complement each other so well. So we did that. And then we just one weekend literally were texting each other, and I joke about it. All good decisions come after a couple glasses of wine. I was like, we should do a podcast. We could totally do this. And at that point, we had both done one or two ourselves and both been very nervous about it. And I just didn't give myself enough credit at the time for the amount of knowledge that I had kind of amassed in my head, because in my mind, I wasn't an expert at anything. But I just knew so much. And that because I wasn't an expert, I just felt like, well, does anybody really care about all the stuff that I know? And through the Clubhouse and through talking to Alex, and then just through going to a couple of conferences, really talking with other people, we were encouraged to just keep stepping outside that comfort zone. So we were at VRMA actually a year ago, and we talked to some people there. They said, yes, you need to do this. We walked out of a session and just said, she goes, we have to put it out there. So we both put it out on our social media, went into the hotel bar, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, when is it coming out? We're like, we don't even have any equipment. Like, we don't even know.
Settle down.
It was just, yeah. So it literally was just like, put it out there and figure it out later. And that's what we did. And I think by Tuesday of the week after the conference, Alex had registered all the different things that we needed. We looked into the equipment we needed, and we were up and running in about 2 weeks. And then, gosh, poor Amber, we tried to record you 3 or 4 different times before we ever got it. But thank God, as you said, this industry is full of people that just show so much grace, and you did, and you held our hand virtually to get through it and encouraged us and just didn't let us give up. Like, and if it hadn't been for you, I don't think that we would have kept on. We would have just been like, this is not meant to be.
You would have. You totally would have. You might have had to go through a couple guests to get there, but you guys have so much grit. And you describe Alex, and she is beautiful inside and out, and she certainly has a presence, but so do you. And I think that was like the thing that I was really drawn to you, because while you were, I think, figuring out that all of your vast experience culminated in being like this masterful kind of like mastermind. You have all these different things that you bring to the table. And that's, some people do that. Some people are good at a lot of things, and that's the collective knowledge is their gift. Other people narrow in, what is it? An inch wide, a mile deep, or, vice versa. And, I'm drawn to you because you are, whether you felt confident or not, like I know you know your shiz. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
know that you know your industry, you know your job, you know everything there is to know, and you have tons of experience. And like one on one, like that was so evident to me. So I was like, all right, okay. Everybody else got to see this version of you too.
Yeah. Well,
Chop,
you
chop.
did. And I think the great thing is for secret out there, I didn't have to pay for like any of the coaching. You just gave it to me. And I just appreciate that so much. And I have said, and I've told Alex this, and I wish that I had some of this, back when I was 30 or, in my late 20s.
Don't
And
we
I just
all?
didn't have any women that were mentoring me. And I had plenty of men that wanted to mentor me, and they were great. But it's like they say about children growing up, they model what they see, and you need to see a version of you out there, like again, like an African American child needs to see an African American in doing something, so
Yeah.
they realize that they can do it. I needed to see that version of me grown up, and I just didn't have that. So I think that it took me longer to get to a point, and I'm not angry about it. I don't harbor any like ill will about it. I just but I do know for myself, I want to make sure that I am there for younger women.
Oh, you
To,
so,
to
and
do
that's like,
best.
see, I just got goosies. I've gotten goosies so many times this week interviewing all my VR friends. You're such amazing people. But like, that's what I love about you is like, you are so giving, and you like, you all don't use your platform simply for self-promotion. Like that
Mm.
feels icky. Like I can smell that a mile away. You all have such a heart of service, and like, you do a really good job of elevating your guests and anybody that you come into contact to like really make them shine. And that's a gift. Like that's not, a lot of podcasters get started and they make it about them and they forget about their audience. And you're so connected to your audience, which is why, can we just say, like, you're terrified. Okay, it was a little bit of a bumpy start, but it was fun. And we got to know each other because we hung out a
Yeah.
bunch right
Yeah.
out of the
Oh my
gate.
gosh. Yeah. I think I knew you better than anybody by the time we got done.
By the time we got that first episode done,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
which I'm grateful for. But now you're like on influencer lists and like hospitality magazines, and like you're everywhere.
Yeah.
And like people are vibing with you. So what do you think, like what happened? How did you go from we're terrified of doing this to everybody respects us as industry thought leaders?
Again, I think it was just for me, I can speak for me. It was being comfortable in my own skin. I've just never been comfortable in my own skin. I've always felt very judged and admonished and pushed aside. And I just needed to be like, okay, I'm here, I'm present, I'm worthy of being present. And it was just finding that. But I remember you did an exercise at the end of last year, and it was you wanted to, for going into the next year, I think it's, you do it every year with your bombshells, is a song, a word, a theme. I can't remember. There was like 4 things, I think it was, but I picked my song, which was Firework by Katy Perry.
Love it.
And then I don't remember what the other, but my word was authenticity. Because the one thing that I felt like was resonating across the board was that when I was just myself, and I wasn't making excuses for flubs, things that I said that were incorrect, or maybe just worded poorly, or that I wasn't maybe as smooth as silk when I spoke about things, that it was okay, and that people needed to see that and connect with me, because I wasn't being something that they weren't getting when they did meet me.
Yeah.
It was just the authenticity. So that became my word for the year. And I talk about that. And I think that that's what's resonated for Alex and I doing the podcast, is that we're just who we are. We're having the same conversations. We're not trying to sell anything. We want to give a platform to the people that we're talking to talk about their product, but we also want to dig deep and understand like who they are as a person. Why did they develop what they did, or why are they doing what they're doing? Because that's what's interesting. It's the people behind all of it. It's not the product. I mean, the product is part of it, but it's just the people. So for me, I just focused in on the authentic side of me, and being comfortable with that, and the amount of doors that opened for me as a, just in general, like just the confidence builder. I can't, again, I wish I'd done it 10 years ago, but it probably was, that wasn't my time. I mean, the universe's time is never wrong. So.
That's right. It's uncomfortable sometimes, but it is
Oh, for
not
sure.
wrong.
Yeah. I have a saying that like sometimes you get a friend of mine, Eve, we'd gone through some things together and
I love you.
you know, Eve. And so we had a saying years and years ago, like, you know, when God closes a door, he always opens a window. And I said, yeah, but sometimes you get stuck in the hallway, and it's those people that you meet in the hallway that are those people that are going to be with you the rest of your path. And her and I met in a hallway, and we've had our ups and downs and lost connections and come back together. But you know, she's kind of one of those ride or die folks in your life. Yeah.
Yeah. Any woman who can run like that woman runs is a
Oh
committed
Lord,
individual. And that's such a
yeah,
good segue, because that's where I wanted to go next is like, so first, you know, you just, and I beat this drum, and like, you're just such a perfect example of this is, you know, I just want people to get to know themselves, like truly without the projection of other people. Like if you will get to know yourself, then you can fall in love with yourself. And there's nothing narcissistic about filling your own cup and being okay
right.
with who you are and showing up in the world without all of the apologies and the fears and all that kind of stuff. So like that was step one for you. And like, hello, look at all the benefits of just that.
Yeah.
Not just for you, but for everybody getting to experience that and witness that. And listen, I hear people say how much they admire you. I hear people say, like, I want to be more like that. Like, she's such a good example because now I feel like and that's like such a gift of celebrating your own humanity. And the other thing I've watched you do, and you've just touched on it, whether it's in the hallway or out in the front yard or wherever, you're good to people, and I don't want to say strategic. I'm not saying you're not strategic, but you're discerning about who you align yourself with and who you let into the true Annie world. Can you talk about that and how that has shifted your experience in the past year?
Yeah. So I think again, it goes back to like just where you come from in life. And I think that as young adults, we spend a lot of time trying to be someone that we're not. We're trying to put a style, a lifestyle, a place in life on us, and that isn't necessarily who we truly are. And it's just trying to find yourself through that path, and just getting outside my comfort zone and reaching out to people again to get them on the podcast, which was partly challenging and scary because I was reaching out to CEOs. And in a sales position, you never talk to those people. Those people wouldn't take your phone call if you were offering them a brick of gold. But all of a sudden, these people were like, absolutely, I'll talk to you. And that gives you not an elevated sense of self, but it gives you that like, okay, wait a minute, I'm worthy to talk to this person. Why was I ever scared? And it's just all those little things that kind of happened again with the podcast. And just Alex has been so tremendous in just pushing me. Like she's fearless. Like she's just like, you just do it. Like she's the Nike walking Nike billboard, just do it. And she pushed me. And every time I would doubt, she'd go, just do it. Like, what's it going to matter, you know, at the end of the day. And so if I didn't have her, it definitely wouldn't be what it is. I mean, we were meant to be.
And vice versa. I can't wait to interview her and hear her version of that as well.
Yeah.
And you're not yin and yang.
Yin and yang. No, we're not. No.
I mean, you're very much alike. She's got a very aggressive personality, and you have more of like a collaborative personality. If I was to kind of like, that's why I said odd couple, because she's like, whoa. And then you're more about like bringing everybody along together. And not that I don't want to make it sound like one is better than the other. Like they're both amazing, but where you two come together is there's just so much magic in like your thoughtful reflection, and you're a little more pensive, and she's aggressive, and you know, your sales and her marketing. And I mean, it's just like, come on. God ordained this, that's for sure. So
no, yeah, there's no doubt about that. Yeah.
The thought too on like knocking on doors for the podcast. It is, the people I've talked to on my podcast, I'm just like, there's no way in the world I would like Jeffrey Maddock today. Like, come on. He did Ralph Lauren's branding. He does
Right.
like Victoria's Secret commercials. Like he's done so much in theater and all kinds of stuff. And like, what a cool conversation I got to have just because I'm a podcast host. And I'm not saying everybody needs to become a podcast host, but putting yourself out there in any way is usually the fastest path to, just experiencing life in a little different way.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And again, it goes back to just having somebody who can nudge you in the direction that you need to go. You've got to have a partner in everything that you do on some level.
Yeah.
I think that that's really beneficial because you feel like if you fall, somebody's going to fall with you. If you're going to walk into a door, you're going to walk into it together. If you're going to embarrass yourself, you're going to embarrass yourself together and laugh together. And it's a comfort without it being a crutch, I think.
When you said that, I had the vision of y'all. And were you in Miami? Was it the executive summit where there was like a hurricane?
Oh, the hurricane. Oh my gosh. Oh,
like, would y'all have ever done that apart?
No
way.
No. I mean, Alex might have maybe one, but it was just one of those things that it was like you couldn't have put together like a better scenario to just be. We were stuck in a hotel. We couldn't go anywhere. It was raining sideways. We weren't going to be able to leave till the morning anyway. So we're like, well, let's just make the best of it. And she said, oh, it just reminds me. She showed me the video of the what we mocked, the mock of it. And I remember seeing it. And we had stuff like that happen in the Panhandle when the Weather Channel people would come here all the time, like faking stuff. And
so it just so was brutal. They could barely stand.
It was so funny. Yeah, it was just it was crazy. And I remember Anthony Gant from At Ease. He was standing up on the balcony and he saw us, and he was on the phone with his business partner, and he was like, Alex and Annie are standing out in the middle of the storm, like with some people like crawling, and like, what are they doing? And it wasn't until we saw him later, he was like, I was yelling at you guys. We heard somebody yelling, but we didn't know where it was coming
so
from.
Funny.
He's like, y'all need to get in here. There's a storm coming.
I need to squeeze him in. I should have thought about him. I need to squeeze him in before I leave for Book Direct to try to.
He's a riot.
Oh my God. He is such a ham. I wouldn't have known him if y'all wouldn't have, known him and he didn't show up to our dinner. I mean, like, I got to bubble wrap him on stage. Like, what? That was great.
He loved every minute of it, though.
Oh, he did. He's such a ham. So what is it that like really drives you? So whether we're talking about, your business life being, VP of business development, or, the podcast, or just being a visible thought leader in the industry, what is it that really like makes all of that happen for you?
It's funny that this word's come up a couple of times in the last year. It's being that people connector. I love to connect people. I love to find ways to put people that maybe wouldn't have ever met together. Whether it be business opportunities or just, it's kind of like matchmaking for business, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. But I love that. I love to just see people, how, like, what the spark is when they get together and what they can do. Like, again, Alex and I got together and I look at all the things that we've done and what we're planning to do and the stuff that there's not enough hours in the day for us to do everything, but it's just putting people together. And I think that one thing that I tell people all the time, and I meet a lot of people that are in this business that just, they don't belong in this business, but they're getting into it because they think, oh, that's where the money is right now. If you don't have the hospitality gene, this is not the place for you. And you can spot somebody who doesn't have that gene a mile away. At least I can.
I can. Like on Instagram, obviously, because I'm sure it's the same for you, but I have so much activity in this world that like I get ads or, whatever on Instagram, and it's like, make money fast with STR. Right. And I'm like, passive income. You don't even have to own anything. You can ask your landlord if you can rent it out and it's easy peasy. Right. And I'm like, oh, because there are no like regulations and process. Nobody's going to scream at you at a local like city council meeting or an ordinance meeting. Like, it's super easy because like you don't have to touch housekeeping, maintenance, a pool. I mean, come on. It is that like real estate wealth building focus of trying to be popular on Instagram and making it be something it isn't is like such a departure of the heart of the industry.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. Like I just want to punch people.
Yeah, it is. And it's interesting because I saw a stat the other day, and I think this was on the heels of the fine that Kim Kardashian got for promoting, I think it was like Bitcoin or one of those one of those, I don't even know what the category you call it, the cryptocurrency. Was that somebody did a survey, and it might have been Deloitte that did it, I'm not sure, but about what people do people believe influencers, and the level of influencers that people actually believe, and that people have gotten away from actually believing like celebrity influencers a lot more than, say 2 years ago, because they just know that they're all bought and paid to be doing this thing. So it's almost become like the politicians that are out there. They're just saying whatever they need to say to get that check at the end of the day. And do they believe it behind closed doors? Probably not. But I think that, that's where, as an industry, Alex and I are very passionate about, is making sure that everybody has all the tools and all the education at their fingertips. They can call. I spent an hour and a half this morning back and forth with a gentleman on LinkedIn. No idea why he reached out to me, asked him. He never really responded. He's in Israel from Australia, has a rental in Pittsburgh, and was needing some advice about what PMS he should take and what channels he should be on, and just go. But I could have charged him. I could have said, no, I don't want to talk to you until, but I want him to have all the right information. I want him to be a good steward. And I don't like the whole get rich quick. It's smarmy to me. And to anybody to say that anything in short-term rentals, vacation rentals, is passive, just like wow.
Yeah, that, or they couldn't give a rip about the guest experience, and they don't have a spirit of hospitality.
Yeah. And again, it's that spirit, it's that gene. It's like, and I think that if you have it and it's like just part of every fiber of your being, you can see it and smell it out. Any opportunity, or anytime somebody walks in the room and, let me tell you, but no, I don't need to talk to you. So
I'm good. Same thing in online marketing, which is, a world that I've been in for a long time now. And it's just like, don't be a tool. Just don't be a tool. How about that?
Right.
Let's just start there.
Just be nice.
Yeah. Nobody needs to see you in front of your jet. Like, nobody cares.
Right.
And so kind of on that same vein, on the one hand, I've really wanted to, my intention at least has been to encourage y'all and also tell you, like, if you've got spinach in your teeth or whatever, but encourage y'all and, be for you what other people have been for me. But I also have tried to pepper in just a little bit here and there, like things to look out for as you're growing and as your visibility grows, and as, it's like you find yourself and then you get to a place and then people want to tear you down. It's like, I say, everybody loves to pet the winning horse until the horse has won too many times. Yeah. And y'all have won a lot in the past year. And so, my experience with some people, especially some other quote influencers, they want a piece of you, and then they get what they need from you, and then they ghost you, or they're like no longer interested in the relationship or whatever. How much of that, whether it is that like use and run, or, maybe they want to be affiliated with you or associated with you, but they don't really want to have a real relationship, or they're just being tools and trying to tear you down because they're jealous. Like, how much of that have you contended with so far?
Honestly, I don't think any. And maybe it's just because, again, it goes back to, I'm who I am. I'm authentic. Alex is who she is. And we don't, there's no different persona on camera. There's no different persona in person. We're the same people all the time. We're going to say the same stupid, silly things, whether we're in front of 10 people or 100 people. I think that there's people that they may be out there. I don't know. I mean, I would hate to think that anybody I know the truth that not everybody's going to like you, and you're not going to like everybody. I mean, I get that about life, but I unfortunately, my bad gene is the people pleaser gene. Like, that's the one thing that, not that I would get rid of it, because I think that that's the soft edge of me. Like, it's like, I'm very compassionate and empathetic to the point that it's, it could be a detriment at times, but I wouldn't change that about me. So it does hurt when people don't like me or would say something mean about me. But, Alex and I don't think had anybody that's been that way yet. So maybe it's coming in year 2. So we're just coming up on our first anniversary. So hopefully not, but
Good. Good.
you never
That's
know.
encouraging. But it's also the industry you're in is like
Yeah, yeah.
such a loving, wonderful, supportive, everybody
Right, right.
with each other kind of industry. Yeah. That's interesting because that's usually as people are kind of coming up in that, like they'll come to me and be like, have you dealt with this? And so now I'm kind of like, I want to tell people like, hey, you are so secure in who you are, which is why you can put yourself out there like this. Like you have to stay that way, no matter what anybody says, no
Yeah.
matter what you hear somebody said, or no matter what they say to your face, or no matter what they comment on your YouTube video, or like what people are just keyboard warriors, or sometimes people get, they're so dissatisfied with their own self that your light like shines in their darkness and that makes them
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So I was just kind of curious if that has hit your radar yet. So I'm so glad to hear it has not.
Yeah. I always told my son he struggled through some things in school. And one of the things I told him was that you always have to look at people, and when they're being mean or ugly, it's generally because they've got something mean or ugly going on in their own world and they're just
Mhm.
projecting it back. They're trying to get rid of it.
Mhm.
So you have to, it goes back to what you always say, show grace.
Yep.
It's really hard to do. I mean, really hard to do. And it does sometimes feel like, well, you're just a doormat because you've allowed people to do that because you're showing them so much grace. But I think at the end of the day, I have this saying that I've said all my life. It's like, mean people suck.
Yep. I used to have the big sticker like in junior high. Like it was
Yeah.
purple. It was on my
Yeah.
locker. Mean people
Mean,
suck.
mean people suck. I mean, and there's nobody likes a mean person. Yeah. Sure, you could be mean and be president at some point, I guess, but mean people, nobody wants to be around a mean person all the time. At some point it just gets old.
Yeah.
You can't be a winner if you're
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
So
You keep your nasty energy over there. And I feel the
yeah.
same way. Like I can't even, some of the instances, but man, I've been screwed over so
Yeah.
hard so many times in the past couple of years, and definitely nice and solid this year with a terrible business deal that should
Oh,
not have gone wrong, but it did because they found a
yeah.
way, because that's who they are. But it's, like some people are like, oh, you're going to go to court over it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, the energy that I would have to spend to
Right.
fight this weasel versus the energy that I could spend to make all that money back and then some while blessing other people. I think I'm gonna
Right.
put my energy over here. Like I'm
Yeah.
let them have it. Like
Yeah.
and that's another, like once you get really okay with yourself, once you get in your own flow, then you don't want anything to disrupt that flow. Not even if it's
No.
like, well, that's not fair. Well, life's not fair. It's just not.
No. Yeah.
But life is what you make of it. And it's just like, that's what I love about you and Alex is you were decisive about what you're going to do. You're scared out of your minds. You kind of had a rocky start.
Yeah.
And then like, but you just kept going. And when people challenge me on the definition of what a bombshell is, and I redefine the term, as you know, to be a bold, brave, unwaveringly confident woman in business. And they're like, well, you can't be unwaveringly confident all the time. And I'm like, oh, no. I'm not saying I'm not confident all the time. And everybody thinks I'm like limitlessly confident. I have way big insecurity moments. It's just that we get back up.
Yeah.
And that's what I watched you do. You just kept getting back up. You kept showing up. You kept doing the things. You kept pushing each other. I know you've pushed Alex too. Like this goes both ways. I'll let her speak to it to interview her. But
Yeah.
like, tell me about that, of just like that, the grit that you're putting into everything that you do now. Like that's a different Annie mode.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, my natural reaction was when things got uncomfortable, I would just close the door and walk away and be like, oh, this is not where I'm meant to be. But now I realize that it's like, if I'm uncomfortable, I got to own it. I got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And just the further outside that comfort I get, the more opportunities pop up. Are they all opportunities I want to take advantage of? No. But it gives me options of opportunities. And so, Alex and I for sure have like committed ourselves to just staying uncomfortable, like just be so uncomfortable that you just live in discomfort, like, and that as long as we sit in that space, like there's just, yeah, there's days where we feel like we can't, like nothing's going right, and then there's days when we're like, holy guacamole, like where did this come from, and it's just like, again, it's planting those seeds, it's putting yourself out there, it's just like you give all this of yourself, and eventually people are going to give it back to you, and you just like give good vibe, give good energy, you know, give support, give grace, do all that. And I read a book years ago, and I think you and I talked about it once before, it was Deepak Chopra. I love his stuff. And he talked about everybody's born to be hospitable. And some people are more hospitable than others, but what your job is as a human is to go around and just fill up everybody has a bucket. They're given a bucket at birth, and you're supposed to go fill up that bucket with kindness and grace and love and hospitality. And eventually all of those buckets are going to be full, and they're just going to overflow back to you. And, you know, again, I read that book maybe 10 years ago, probably longer. I'd say at least 10 years ago. It's taken 10 years to get to where I feel like that is so true. But now that I know it's true, I feel like I have to scream it from the rooftops. Like, just do it. Don't stop.
Yeah, because you do have a responsibility. Once you know better, you do better. And once you start doing better, and then you have evidence of that being fruit or bearing fruit, then you better start telling people, like teaching people, like this is the way, this is the path. You're now the Sherpa. And I know we got to wrap up, but I've got one more question for you before we get to like where to find you online and everything. So you just said something that, you know, I preach, and that's if you have a strong personal brand, meaning who you are inside is how people receive you. And so you've spoken this whole episode about authenticity, but you just said the right people and opportunities. And I beat that drum so hard. When you have a strong personal brand, you attract the right people and opportunities to your life.
Yeah.
Can you speak to how, maybe not how, but the process of going from, oh, I know who I am, and I think I kind of like myself now, to I need to define and position my value in a proper personal brand? Was there a moment, or was it just an evolution?
I think it was an evolution. I don't think there's any one specific moment. But I will say, so just going to a couple of conferences since we started the podcast. So I think the first one was the women's conference. That was like our first, like out there in public doing it. And then we went to the VRMA in Chicago, and that was where it felt so strange. Like, you know, people always joke, you go to conferences, like there's more conversations that happen outside the conference, the exhibit hall than anything. And we were just sitting in the bar, of course, where everybody goes, we're hospitality people, you know. And it was like, oh my God, Alex and Annie. It was like we were rock stars in this little community of ours. And it was just so weird. And it was like, where are these people coming from? And I thought, like, I don't know any of these people, but they were
a weird feeling.
Well, we had talked to like on LinkedIn, or, you know, or maybe they'd been in a clubhouse or whatever, but it just felt like, oh gosh, we have all these people that like us, you know? And I felt like that Sally Field video when she got her Oscar, you're like, you like me, you really like me. I was like, oh my gosh, people like us, you know? So it just, again, I think that was probably, if there was a moment when I felt like what we were doing mattered, and people really, really gravitated toward us and enjoyed it. And we had a gentleman, John from Transparent, one of the pricing tools. He said to us, I have you guys on my list, my goals for 2022. We were like, no, you don't. He called his wife, said, where are you? Go home, take a picture of my whiteboard. She sent a picture of the whiteboard, and he had his goals for 2022. And like his number 5 or 6 goal was to be on the Alex and Annie podcast.
I love
like
that.
You talk about like humbling, one, that somebody you've never met before, like was like, I have to be on that. That's a goal for me. Like that was really,
I'm
tremendous.
Getting tears because that's your fruit. That's your fruit. And that is when you put love and grace, and you do fill people's buckets, and you're coming from a place of authenticity, and you're putting yourself out in the world, and you all don't expect anything in return. Like you're an offer of service at all times. Not that you shouldn't expect things in return, but like just the way that you go about things is very beautiful. And then you get to see that fruit when you're able to inspire other people. That's just amazing. So I know you and I both have an appointment, so I'm going to first ask, obviously you would need to follow Annie on LinkedIn. I beat that drum every week. Get on LinkedIn. It's where we do business.
Oh my gosh, so much. Yes.
And they're going to follow so many amazing people, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, the vacation rental industry on LinkedIn is like its own microcosm.
Totally. Yeah.
Its own world. So follow you on LinkedIn, and then you're on Instagram, Annie and Alex and Annie on Instagram.
Yep. And so, and if anyone wants to email me, it's Annie at alexandanniepodcast.com, but our website is alexandanniepodcast.com.
And obviously you need to listen to it, subscribe to it, like it, share
Yes,
it.
like it, love
Even if you're
it.
not in
Yeah,
the industry, like you
it's
learn so
fun.
many things. Like
Well, we don't
people,
talk to just industry people. We talk to hospitality people, but we talk
yeah,
to a lot of other people too. So yeah,
yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. So
Thank
make sure
you.
you tune into that. And all of that will be in the show notes at amberhurdle.com/podcast with an S at the end. And it's time for the final question. What parting piece of advice would you give a bombshell, a bold, brave, unwaveringly confident woman in business?
The best piece of advice I wish I had gotten a long time. Don't overthink it. Just that is the most simple thing. Don't overthink it. If it jumps to you, it's in your heart, it's in your gut. Just do it. It'll land well sometimes and others it won't, but I think for the most part, every time you have a gut instinct to do it, don't try to analyze it, and don't overthink everything that you do. It's your monkey mind will take you to places you don't want to go.
Yeah, monkey mind and Gertrude on your shoulder. That is
Yep, Gertrude, that's true.
the hard truth.
Yeah.
Well, Annie, thank you for sharing yourself with
Yeah.
everyone listening. And thank you for sharing yourself with me and for your friendship and letting me have a little front row seat to your greatness. It's been fun. And I can't wait to hang out with you in Vegas.
Yeah. See you there. Thanks, Amber. I appreciate you.
All right. Bombshell. That's a wrap. I don't know how you can put a period or exclamation mark on that special human that gets to be a part of or I get to be a part of her life, rather. Make sure that you leave a rating and review. Check out her podcast as well. And I guess we will just see you on the next episode. We've got a lot of them this week. See you then.